everyone, Daniel here with my initial out of the theater thoughts, spoiler free for Marvel's Thunderbolts. Now, before I get into my thoughts, one thing I do need you to know, there are two end credit scenes for this film. One of them is a mid credit scene, and the other one is a longer end credit scene all the way at the end of the credits. So make sure to stay or time it out so you can go to the restroom and come back, or whatever you may need to do. So let's get into my initial thoughts. I was gonna shoot this outside of the theater, but there was a lot of people there. It is a busy night because it's in the mall. Um, I just got back home. Like I drove. It took me like 15 minutes to get back home, and let me tell you, I am very pleasantly surprised. Now, a lot of people are always asking with the next Marvel film, like, are we back? Is Marvel back? I don't fully know what that means for everyone because overall, although not every Marvel movie has been as strong as some of the, Endgame or Infinity Wars, which those are heights that Marvel may never reach again. uh, I think they've had some good films. They have some interesting films, and I think this one in particular, it's very appealing to me because I like the characters in the comics. I really like the Thunderbolts, but I also like the versions of the characters that they have brought in. Right, we have Yelena Belova, the White Widow. And Florence Pugh is fantastic in every performance that she's been Yelena. So she's great. I love David Harbour as the Red Guardian. So bring him in as well. Wyatt Russell, I enjoyed his performance. I think he has this very interesting way to play the character, and you definitely get that. You definitely feel that in this movie as well. And then we get a little bit more of some other characters that we may not have seen as much in previous Marvel things that they're kind of trying to bring back, and maybe make him try to work a little bit. Um, so this movie, I think its main achievement is to bring in a character from the comic that I felt was unadaptable. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go too much into it. If you've seen the trailers and if you read the comics and if you kind of figured it out, you know. Uh, I also really love the idea of this like team of underdogs or team of undesirables or whatever you want to call them, coming together. I think that's always really worked for me. There's some very interesting action sequences. There's some very cool concepts that are brought in the screen that to me feel like they had not been explored. It's quite an emotional journey as well, which always plays well for me. Like I mentioned, there's some really cool action scenes and fights. I think seeing Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think is also great. Like her character has been kind of a shadows operative for most of the time in the MCU, and this one kind of brings her into the spotlight. So as far as is the MCU trying to get back on track, I think they definitely are. They have had a little bit of course correction when it comes to changing the film, interfering with it. I haven't heard anything about any like extensive reshoots like we heard for Captain America, which a film that I still overall enjoyed, but I could see there were some problems with it. I think that not requiring your audience to know about 10 different films before going into the next one is actually pretty smart. These are characters that the film tells you everything you need to know about them. And I think that's probably where this film succeeds the most. You don't need to have watched everyone's journey. Now, if you have, you will definitely have more of an emotional connection, and maybe the stakes will be a little bit higher for you. But yeah, overall, this film is getting pretty good critical reception. I think last time I checked, they were at about 89 on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. The Metacritic score was almost at 70 out of 100, with generally favorable reviews. So, like, yeah, I think people are into this film. Um, and of course, this is just kind of the next stepping stone into the same thing, but it also really works as an idea on its own, which is what these movies should be and what the original Marvel formula was. You have a movie that just works on its own, but also gives you the next step to the next thing, not the next step to 10 years in the future. And I think that's where maybe, Marvel had to pull back the reins a little bit at being so future forward. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to tell you without really going into any big spoilers other than you're going to have a great time. This movie is pays very well. Like it just went for like by the time I realized there was only like 30 minutes left and we were definitely getting into like the crux of everything. It's only 26 minutes long, but it just pays very well. There's sequences that kind of just flow right into each other, and I think that really works. And there's probably like one or two things that I'm still questioning, but it's the type of film that I want to go watch again. I definitely, and not just because I have questions, because there's definitely some things that I want to know a little bit more about. But just overall, because it was a very entertaining time. The crowd in my theater was it was kind of a half full theater because it was pretty early on a Thursday evening. But I think everyone seemed to have a good time overall. There was moments where I laughed, where I could hear everybody else laughing, and there was moments where people were like, "Oh, damn!" Like people sitting up. You hear the people sit up on their seats, or like there's a little rumble in the theater sometimes when people have a physical reaction to a few things. So, and then like I said, just bringing a character or a few of these characters that I never would have expected to see in live action and just really distill them to what their form is in the comics, even if it's a little bit different. I think it really works. It really works. And then, of course, the end credit scenes, like, I might have to do a full video about them on its own. So before I get into all that, but come back. I'll probably have a more in-depth spoiler review later on, or we might talk about it on a live. It depends on all the scheduling. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of content happening. Marvel, Star Wars, a lot of things coming at us very fast. And then, of course, in the summer, we have the big four or the big five. There's a lot of movies coming out in the summer, including Jurassic Park, Superman, and then, of course, the Fantastic Four first steps. So, let me know if you have any questions about this film, the characters, anything like that. Leave them in the comments. I love, I could, if there's enough questions, I might make a full video about it, just answering all the questions. Let me know what you thought of the movie if you've seen it, and of course, make sure to stay tuned. And thanks for watching, everyone. We have more movie reviews, comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.